A normal American guy landed in Africa, but fate decided to test him. Test him by putting in a situation where he had only two choices: either save an innocent woman or dance with death.
Go! Go! Why are you shooting at us? Get the hell out of here!
The decision that he took on that particular moment will shock you.
Step out of the car, sir.
Welcome back to Paramount Recapped. I don't have many subscribers, but your single comment is a ray of hope to motivate me. The movie kicks off with police sirens blaring and the roar of a speeding car as a guy is being chased. He's flooring it but ends up skidding after hitting some metal. A helicopter pops up in front of him, forcing him to make a rough turn, which leads to him crashing into a metal ladder, smashing his windshield. Sirens are screaming, horns are honking, and the cops are closing in, but he pulls off a wild turn just before we cut to a flashback. The screen fades out with the word earlier. We jump to a guy on the phone with his wife, who's nagging him for being late. He explains he's been delayed because of the plane and customs but promises to be there in 20 minutes. After hanging up, he gets into his freshly rented car. Something feels off, so he calls the rental place, but the clerk tells him the manager isn't available. The clerk suggests swapping the car, but since he's running late, he declines and starts driving, even though the whole situation feels a bit weird. He hits the freeway, looking confused because he doesn't recognize any of the signs. With a furrowed brow, he's trying to make sense of where he's going when suddenly a van honks and he quickly swerves to the right. While driving, his wife texts, telling him not to drive in the right lane. Trying to focus, he accidentally hits a cyclist but quickly apologizes and moves on, hoping to avoid any more trouble. Stuck in traffic, he calls his wife again, saying he's running late because of rental car issues. His wife stresses that he needs to be on time because of security concerns. She gets emotional, and he ends the call, clearly frustrated. Suddenly, a ringing sound catches his attention. It's not his phone. He checks the glove compartment and finds a BlackBerry with a text that says, "Make sure. Keep it clean." He's distracted by this, and as traffic starts moving, cars behind him start honking. A kid knocks on his window, offering a charger. Annoyed, he opens the window, but while distracted, someone swipes his glasses. Frustrated, he tries to calm down by eating a Twinkie, but when it falls, he reaches for it and instead grabs a gun. Panicking, he quickly throws it onto the passenger seat. Then the BlackBerry rings. He hesitates to answer, and when he does, the person on the other end tells him to acknowledge the message. Confused, he explains there's been a mix-up with the rental car. The call ends abruptly, leaving him even more rattled. He tries to put the gun and phone out of sight, gets out of the car, but before he can walk away, the phone rings again. Frustrated, he answers and tells the caller he's done with this game. The man on the other end says he's a detective, and Michael, the main character, is just a bystander caught in the middle. The detective explains the car was meant for one of their officers, which calms Michael a little. The detective promises another car and sends the location via text. Michael tries to follow the directions, but can't find the street mentioned in the text. He asks a passerby for help, but the woman only speaks Zulu, leaving him more lost. As he tries to turn around, his car gets stuck in a pothole. Frustrated, he calls his wife, who tells him he's now half an hour late. Desperate, Michael asks her for directions to Smut Street, warning her not to ask questions. She gives him the directions, and the call ends. He tries to get moving, but the car is still stuck. After some struggle, the trunk shakes, and a tied-up, unconscious woman falls into the back seat. She wakes up, and as Michael opens the window, she asks him to untie her. He does, but as soon as she's free, she tries to run, and they end up fighting over the gun. She asks who he is, not trusting him, but Michael tells her to shut up and sit tight. A little later, they're back on the road. The woman watches him cautiously, and the gun slips to the floor. She grabs it, demanding he turn the car around, but Michael speeds up and slams the brakes, sending her flying back and making her drop the gun. It accidentally fires, leaving a bullet hole in the car. When Michael realizes he's not hurt, he points the gun at her, telling her enough is enough. The woman, scared now, opens the back door, trying to escape again. Michael pulls her back in, warning her not to move. She tells him he has no idea what he's gotten into. Just then, the BlackBerry rings again. The detective on the line says Michael's late, and after some back and forth about his situation, reveals that Michael's been out of jail and isn't supposed to be traveling, reminding him that his wife works at the embassy. He's told he's got just 5 minutes to get to the address, or they'll come after him. As they drive, the woman in the car starts talking. She says her name's Rachel Shabangu and works for the National Prosecuting Authority. Rachel spills the tea on how she dug up dirt on a big shot named Ben Rose, who's involved in some shady international sex trafficking. She explains that she got kidnapped to stop her from blowing the whistle on this. Rachel's desperate for help, telling Michael to do the right thing, but he's like, take it to the cops, She quickly shoots back that Ben Rose is actually the chief of police and they're trying to take her out. The two bicker a bit, and Michael, clearly annoyed, gags her to keep her quiet. When they reach the warehouse, things go sideways. Guns are pointed at them, and Rachel shouts at Michael to hand her the gun so she can return fire. He speeds off, dodging cars left and right as some of their pursuers end up crashing in flames. Rachel says she knows some people who can help, but when they try to reach out, one person straight up refuses, while another guy claims his son was threatened and begs them to leave him out of it. Realizing his wife Angie might be in danger, Michael panics and tries to call her, but it only goes to voicemail. Ignoring Rachel's warning, he heads for the embassy, where she predicts the bad guys will be waiting. When they arrive, they spot men closing in on Angie. Thankfully, the military intervenes, rescuing her, but not before Rachel is shot. They escape to an underground parking lot, but Rachel's wound is severe, and despite Michael's efforts, she's losing too much blood. Accepting her fate, Rachel has Michael record her final testimony, exposing the police chief's involvement in a trafficking ring. She names Michael as a witness and tells him to take the recording to Judge Mzuka. With her last words, she urges him to finish what they started before she dies. Michael, devastated, hides her body and tries reaching Angie again, but gets no answer. While lost in thought, a thief tries to rob him, but Michael pulls out his gun, sending the thief running. Then, Detective Smith calls, hinting he has the police in his pocket and warning Michael to back off. Fueled by anger, Michael fires back a threat of his own and chucks the phone out the window. Determined to clear his name, Michael makes his way to find the judge. Along the way, he sees his face plastered on the news, now wanted for Rachel's murder. While he's driving, two police cars appear, and he panics, pulling into a car wash to lay low. As the car is getting cleaned, Michael leaves another voicemail for Angie, reminiscing about happier times they shared, insisting he didn't kill Rachel and promising to clear his name. After the car wash, Michael stops at a spray paint shop to change the car's color. He doesn't have much to offer, but he gives the guy his watch, and the boss agrees to help. Once the car is painted, Michael asks for directions to the courthouse. As he's driving, he gets a call from the judge, warning him not to come because the police are all over the place. But Michael's not backing down. He made a promise, and he's determined to keep it. Just as Michael's trying to talk, a traffic cop pulls him over for being on the phone while driving. He can't give the cop his license, but just then, the guys from the shop throw paint at the police car, causing chaos. Michael escapes and tries calling the judge again, but his phone dies right as he's about to share his location. Despite everything, Michael heads straight for the courthouse. With the cops on his tail, it's just like the beginning of the movie all over again. He evades the sirens, but then gets hit by a police car. With no way out, he drives into a store, dodging bullets before finally making it back on the road. Surrounded by cops and helicopters, Michael decides to make a break for it and heads to the courthouse. In a final act, he grabs a reporter as a hostage and demands they get the judge. Detective Smith shows up, trying to stop things, but Michael's got leverage with the hostage. Just when things seem dire, Michael plays Rachel's recording over the reporter's mic. He's shot by the detective, but the testimony is out there. The movie wraps up with Michael being hailed as a hero, recovering in the hospital with Angie by his side. Meanwhile, the corrupt officers are arrested, and the rental car guy is seen cleaning off the minivan, Vehicle 19.